Obviously, being at Radio Row, we couldn't let this guy get away from us. USA Today NFL insider Tyler Dragon. He also has one of the greatest last names you'll ever find. So, Tyler, thank you so much for jumping on yet again and again and again with Compas. How are you doing?
Of course, you two are my boys. We go way back, especially me and Gilbert, NFL Network days. It's always a pleasure to be on and supporting you guys' show. You guys do a great job of, talking about football and everything, all the above. So I always appreciate coming on.
You're far too kind, Tyler. But be honest, when Fernando says, great name, Tyler Dragon, how many times do you hear that? Do you get annoyed? Do people ask you, is it really Dragon, your last name?
So if I got $1 every time somebody asked me that, maybe I wouldn't work for USA Today and I would be like a billionaire. Maybe I would be somewhere with Jay-Z or Rihanna performing right now and having her billionaire status.
Or married to her.
Hey, that wouldn't be a bad idea too.
I'm just trying to help you out, bro. You put it up for me, I'm going to Magic Johnson it to you.
Hey,
assist.
I got a Jordan and finish it, I guess. Don't tell my fiance.
Did you make it? Okay. Gotta double check. Did you make it inside yesterday to the Rihanna the press conference?
I did not go to the Rihanna press conference, but I will be watching that Super Bowl halftime show. I can't wait. I don't think it's going to top last year's West Coast halftime performance. That was probably my favorite.
Or the smells of the halftime show.
Oh, hey. I don't know if we're supposed to talk about that. This might be a PG-13 show. So
Kid show. Tyler, obviously, with the Rihanna, fire marshals were called and brought in to make sure that not more people were in there than regulated. So you can tell she's kind of popular.
Oh, yeah.
But what matchup intrigues you the most, or what storyline intrigues you the most about this game this weekend?
Well, I think the two African-American quarterbacks starting against each other in the Super Bowl for the first time ever, that's, a very unique storyline in and itself. But also, I want to see the battle in the trenches. This Philadelphia Eagles defensive line, they are on a record-setting pace of, getting after the quarterback and making sacks. They're third all-time right now, and if they have 5 more sacks, they would eclipse the 1984 Chicago Bears for the most sacks all-time in NFL history, including regular season and playoffs. So that paired against the Chiefs' offensive line, I think they have the best offensive line in the AFC. And they have to really protect Patrick Mahomes, who is not going to be 100%. His ankle is a lot better, but he already admitted that it's not 100%. So how is that offensive line going to fare against this Philadelphia Eagles front seven that gets after the quarterback?
Did you see Jim Trotter's tweet? I thought it was amazing. And obviously, we're all big fans of Jim, and he's a great guy. He said that Doug Williams should do the coin toss before the game with obviously Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and then Doug Williams doing them. I thought that was an incredible idea. I thought the NFL should get ahead of that, and they should do it. I think that'd be an incredible sight to see before the game. What would you think if the NFL did something like that?
Yeah, it's been 35 years since he won a Super Bowl championship as the first black quarterback ever to do it, and now you're making history this year with 2 black quarterbacks starting. That would be a special and unique moment. I know Doug Williams will be honored to do it. He's like a mentor figure to a lot of these quarterbacks, especially black quarterbacks, and what he's accomplished and what he's even went through. So it will be a sign of just progress, just if he's able to do that. But I don't think the NFL is going to do that. But it would be a special and unique moment.
Tyler, kind of a 2-part question. Are you a little surprised how much Jalen Hurts progressed this season in year 3? Because, talk about Burrow and Herbert, and they kind of were on that different level, and then Hurts just got in there out of nowhere. Was that surprising for you? And then 2, the whole narrative about the Eagles, people saying the Eagles haven't been tested this playoffs. Do you buy that?
Those are 2 great questions. Number one, Jalen Hurts has improved dramatically from a senior as a quarterback at Alabama and at Oklahoma. I mean, the way that he has improved as a pocket passer, his precision passing in the pocket, his progressions. I mean, you have to give him a lot of credit because he looks like an entirely different quarterback from his days in Alabama, his days at Oklahoma to now. Just as a passer, his accuracy, and that's, a tribute to his work in the offseason, off the field, just working on his craft. I mean, Nick Sirianni called him Michael Jordan, compared him to Michael Jordan. If anybody ever compared him, I would never have guessed that going into college because, he's a second-round pick. Michael Jordan wasn't a second-round pick. So, that is credit to him, and he's a huge reason why they are playing on Sunday in Glendale, Arizona. And then tell me your second question, part 2 again.
The whole narrative about the Eagles not being tested throughout the playoffs. They got Daniel Jones and the Giants and an injured Brock Purdy with the 49ers.
Well, the Giants, that's a playoff team. And, they beat them pretty handily. So I want to say that's just because the Eagles have been so good and so dominant this year. For them to hold the Giants to 7 points, the San Francisco 49ers to 7 points, they got after Brock Purdy and got him hurt. They did that. That was Hassan Riddick that was rushing the quarterback in that strip fumble. That's just how dominant they've been. They were number 2 defense all year. And so they have just been playing at a very high level. So that's the credit to them. And I think you just have to give credit where credit is due. This Eagles team is legit. They've been the most complete football team all season, not only in the NFC, but in the entire National Football League.
Tyler, you're obviously well connected around the league. There's rumblings that the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, Shane Steichen, could be announced as the next head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis already said they won't announce it for a couple of days. That's what Jim Irsay said. And then obviously the work that he's done with Justin Herbert, with Jalen Hurts. It can't be ignored that he's done a great job with both of them. So do you feel like that maybe that's where they're leaning, or are they really going to go with Jeffrey Saturday as their head coach?
If the Colts hired Jeff Saturday, just the optics of that are just awful. He had never been a head coach before. We already know that story. Very inexperienced. He did an okay job, but he was in over his head. I do think Steichen is a very well qualified coach, and it seems like the trend and around the NFL is hire an offensive coordinator, promote him to be your head coach, and the work he's done, as you said, with Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, especially Jalen Hurts, he looks like an entirely different quarterback. As we said before, his work in the pocket, passing the football with precision and his accuracy, and you have to give credit to their coaches.
Tyler, let me ask you about the contracts now. You're the insider. This 2020 QB draft class, they need to get paid now. Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, even Tua as well. I know Tua had an up and down season, but he played well. These 4 guys, what do you think about contracts? Who gets paid first? What's the bar going to be here?
And you still have to throw Lamar Jackson in there because he's looking at them like, okay, I see those guys are accomplished, but I got MVP hardware. Those other guys don't. And it's going to be interesting because a lot of quarterbacks look at Deshaun Watson's $230 million all guaranteed contract as the bar. Now, is that the bar for Joe Burrow? The Cincinnati Bengals, sometimes they can be a little bit frugal. I know they hate when I say that and other people say that, but I'm just saying money does the talking. And so Joe Burrow and the Bengals, they're going to have to think about, and Justin Herbert charging everybody else. If you pay the quarterbacks top dollar, how is that going to affect the other members on the roster? As for the Bengals, they have T. Higgins' contract coming up. They have Jamar Chase's contract coming up. So how are you going to fit that? Jesse Bates is gone.
Yeah,
I'll tell y'all that right now. He's not going to be in Cincinnati next year. You heard it here first.
All right.
And then when it comes to the Chargers, you got Keenan Allen. Are they going to release him? The Chargers have to do some salary cap gymnastics in and itself. So what are you going to do with your other receivers and your offensive line? What are you going to do at defense? You need a pass rusher. So these teams are going to have to do some checks and balances and try to figure out how they're going to pay these quarterbacks in excess of $200 million, as well as fill out their other rosters. So that's the big $2 million question, if you will. But I do think when it's all said and done, Justin Herbert and those quarterbacks like Joe Burrow, they're going to get paid. And it's going to be a contract. All those contracts are going to be north of $200 million.
Man, I can't imagine making $200 million at 23, 24 years old. What
would you do with that money?
First, I would go to my mom's work and say, "You're done. That's it. She's done. Thank you for all the years, but my mom has done work." And so definitely that'd be the first thing. And then I'd buy my guy a Lambo probably.
Thank you.
There you go. Got you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a good friend right there.
Got you.
Right, we'll see when the money comes. I'm gonna ask you for reals.
You know what's funny? Every time I go buy a lottery ticket, I tell the person that gives me the lottery ticket, I say, if I win the whole thing, I will give you $1 million. And I do it just because I would. I'd come back, I'd give him the $1 million and be like, hey, I want to spread the wealth. That's what I'm all about. Tyler, speaking of quarterbacks who have made the money already, does anybody want to coach Kyler Murray down in Arizona? Do you really feel like he is that big of? I mean, and we've heard the Call of Duty stuff, the fighting with Cliff Kingsbury on the sideline, the not putting enough work hours into it. I mean, is he really that big of a problem from what you know?
So where there's smoke, there's fire. And Kyler Murray has not been the best teammate all his years in the NFL. Sometimes players kind of consider him arrogant or standoffish. So he's going to have to develop not only as a player, but just as a teammate and as a person. Because as a quarterback, you're the face of the franchise if you like it or not. And players look up to you. Players look to you for advice. Players look out to you just to be a captain, a leader of the team. And when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is the leader of the team. Buda Baker. Players don't really gravitate to Kyler Murray. And you need players to do that, especially if you're getting paid the type of money Kyler Murray is getting paid. And you want to be a gym rat as a quarterback. I know that term's always used and used a lot, but when you're a starting quarterback and making over $100 million guaranteed, you need to be in the building almost 24/7 because the franchise has invested that much in you, and they want you to be the face of the franchise and the quarterback of the future.
DeAndre Hopkins, will he be an Arizona Cardinal next year?
No. I think he does get traded. I don't know where yet, but I think he's run his course out of Arizona, and he wants to go to a winning franchise.
Fernando, it's kind of fun to be friends with an insider. All this information, man, with Tyler Dragon here.
That's why I keep on
keep it going because I
Putting me on the spot.
I have one more contract question, and then I'll have a fun question for you because I know you so well. You're gonna enjoy this one. But the first one, I'm very intrigued with the running backs because I feel like running backs have kind of already settled. Hey, this is the bar for us. We can't go too high. We get injured a lot. But there's some good names coming out for the free agency. Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley. Like, do you see these guys finally kind of setting the tier a little higher from what we've seen in the last few years for running backs?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not to mention Miles Sanders. He's going to be a free agent. He could be a Super Bowl champion free agent in the backfield. The running back position has been devalued over the last few years. I hate it personally. I'm a proponent of running the football, be a run-oriented offense, and that set up the pass. The Chargers, need that. I know y'all talk about the Chargers a lot. But, I do think this running back market is going to be intriguing. You even have a running back like Josh Jacobs, who's a Pro Bowler, who's going to be in the mix. So running backs are going to get paid this offseason. I don't think it's going to be the money that they would like in, these high contracts, because running backs, their second contracts don't tend to be very, very high because this position is devalued. And then the running back draft class is pretty good this year. So teams are going to be looking in the first round, maybe for a running back, and then definitely the second and the third round too.
Tyler knows who the Chargers should be looking at. He's a guy from Texas. I'm sure that's what Tyler has.
Read my mind. Read my mind.
Kellen Moore, Tony Pollard.
Think about.
No, he's talking about the Texas run, the rookie Robinson coming out of Texas.
There you go.
Big kid. He can get into the end zone. He'd make a good 1-2 combo with Austin.
So Fernando, you cover the Chargers a lot. Just imagine the Chargers with an 1,000-yard rusher, and how that would help.
They would have finished off Jacksonville. They tried to. They tried to hand the ball off to Austin, but Austin's not that back. He's not the guy that can take the hands off and pound you and grind you the way Melvin Gordon used to for the Chargers. A back like that, they do need a back like that. So I completely agree with you. They need a running back. But so Tyler texted me because I had tweeted out, can you imagine Michael Mayer and from the tight end from Notre Dame and Justin Herbert? He texts me, bro, they need a running back. I'm like, no, you're right. You're completely right. They do. But I'm just imagining that because I think that tight end is going to be fantastic. But you're right. Robinson on the Chargers would be a huge addition to that team. And you put less pressure on Justin and you can run the ball more and you can run the ball differently, which is obviously key.
I think that's key, is putting less pressure on Justin Herbert, because when you drop a quarterback back 40, 50 times a game, he's susceptible to injuries. And we saw that last year where Herbert hurt his ribs, and then it came out recently that he had a banged-up shoulder and needed shoulder surgery. So when you drop a quarterback back all the time a game and you're only one-dimensional as an offense, other teams, they get paid too, and they're going to pin their ears back, and they're always going to rush the quarterback. They're always going to blitz the quarterback, and then the quarterback's going to be taking hits. Even if he's not getting sacked, he's going to take hits, and those hits going to accumulate over the season, especially, as you mentioned, that Jacksonville game. You're up 27-0. That's the time where to hand the ball to your running back, bleed the clock, and then 4 or 5 possessions, if you're 8-minute possessions, even if you don't score or kick a field goal to miss, you took 8 minutes off the clock. The clock is your friend, but you don't have a running game. You're just throwing the ball, and the clock doesn't bleed, and that's a huge reason why they lost.
Tyler, you're making too much sense, but I don't know. Coaches like to go different ways. But Tyler, one non-football question, NBA. I know your boy is LeBron James. Me, Fernando, and Dan were having dinner when he broke the all-time scoring record. Just want to know, what was your reaction? And you shed a little tear when you saw that fadeaway jumper?
So I didn't watch the game live either, by the way. The NFL scheduled their media party the same time as the Laker game this week. However, I had my phone out and I was watching, so I did see it live, that play. Now, I did not shed a tear. I'm very happy for LeBron James, though. It just speaks volumes about just he's been able to accomplish. He's not even a scorer first. I actually asked Patrick Mahomes this because he tweeted LeBron right after he broke the record. And then so the next day I asked Patrick Mahomes what he thought of the accomplishment because I saw him tweet that. And he was like, he's not a passer first. It just speaks volumes, just like I'm saying right now. Like, he's an assist passer first. And for him to have the scoring record, him to be top 10 in assists, I mean, he's in the discussion of greatest of all time. I don't think he's better than Jordan, but I definitely think he's number 2 all time.
I think Kobe Bryant would disagree with that.
Kobe Bryant's top 10. I give him top 10. He's not top 5.
Don't get Tyler started.
He's an assassin. He was an assassin.
I've heard this for a couple of years on the NFL news desk. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You did.
Oh, wow.
A lot of debate.
But you grew up as a Laker fan.
I did not.
Oh, you did not.
So I'm a fan. I'm about to tell y'all a secret. I'm a fan of players and not teams.
Okay.
So I've never been like really a Lakers fan, but I've always followed
based
LeBron.
off of your tweets, I thought you were like
LeBron James.
LeBron's there.
Yeah.
So I signed a 3-year contract a couple years ago.
That's why when he was with the Heat, I loved it because I'm like LeBron fans are where Heat at fans. So okay, so you love LeBron. Okay.
Yeah.
So you love LeBron.
And then before that, it was Jordan. So I, followed the Bulls. And then when Jordan retired, became Allen Iverson, followed the 76ers.
What do you make of Bronny and Bryce? I think Bryce is so talented. Like I've watched Bronny up and he came to San Diego for a tournament. Man, you should have seen Dwayne Wade comes out. He's walking out. And at halftime, they're like, oh, it's halftime. Boom, a swarm comes up. Everybody asking Dwayne Wade for autographs. He's like, whoa, one at a time. And it's all kids. He's like, hold on. And he's like, selfies, this, that. But, man, it was just a swarm. But by that, what do you make of Bryce and Bronny? Do you think they got it?
They definitely have the potential to be, looked at in the NBA. I know Bronny is coming up, but Bryce, I think he might be better in his, potential. His arrow is pointing high. Yes, that's what I was about to say. He is bigger. I saw when they showed him at LeBron's that record-setting game. He's almost as tall as LeBron now. He's like, a teenager still? Bronny's going to be good, too. I'm interested to see what college he's going to go to. I know there's a lot of talk about Ohio State. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does at the Division I level. I know he's a McDonald's All-American. I want to see him in that game playing against some of the best players from around the country. He's not the number 1 overall recruit like his dad was, but I do think Bryce has potential to be a top 5 recruit in all of the country by the time he is a senior. He's that good, and his arrow is pointing high.
Sometimes it's hard because LeBron was hungry. He had nothing. LeBron grew up with nothing, so he was hungry. The thirst to get out of his situation. I mean, and I don't put. I'm glad these kids are growing up with money and they know, and LeBron's made a better life for them. But sometimes you don't grow with that hunger the way that your dad grew up with. So I mean, but Bryce he looks like he has game, but. Okay, last NBA question, I swear.
All right.
Now that Kevin Durant is a Phoenix Sun, do you think they win the championship?
I'm tired of Kevin Durant making super teams. I'm tired. Like, every time he always makes a super team. I'm tired of him making super teams. But this Phoenix Suns team, I heard he's already in Arizona. I wouldn't be surprised if he is at the Super Bowl this Sunday.
Radio Row?
Yeah, he might be in Radio Row. I hope he comes to the USA Today section so I can tell him to stop making super teams and to stay his butt in Brooklyn and try to win. But I digress. I think the Suns, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because there's a point to you got to have some chemistry.
Yep.
They're coming in at almost the middle of the season, trying to build some cohesion, some chemistry, and they have no depth. They let go of all their depth in that trade to Brooklyn. So I want to see how they develop their chemistry, but the Western Conference, it's a crapshoot. You have
it's like the AFC.
There's a lot of good teams, a lot of star power. And then you look at Giannis in the East, he's like, that last episode of Fresh Prince, like, where's everybody at?
He's looking at his chops. Right. He's like, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk to make it to the finals.
I think Milwaukee almost, like you said, has a cakewalk to the NBA Finals. And that says something, too. You don't have a lot of wear and tear when you get to the finals and you're fresh after all those, 4 or 5 game series. So I think they're the favorite to win the NBA championship, to answer your question in a roundabout way.
Tyler, you're right. I can't keep track of Kevin Durant's teams anymore. I want to say 4 teams. I don't know, whatever. It's way too much, especially
East Coast, West Coast,
whatever you want to go.
Everywhere.
And Tyler, we might have to call you NFL and NBA insider. Your great knowledge in NBA. But one more prediction question. Obviously, we're here, Super Bowl 57 in Phoenix. Chiefs, Eagles. Who do you have?
The Eagles should be favored. They have the most complete team and the better team overall. But the best player on the field, the best quarterback in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes. I do think they get it done. I really like what Chris Jones does at the defensive tackle position, too. I think the Chiefs get it done because they've been here before. They're hungry to win another Super Bowl championship. I got the Chiefs winning on Sunday, 28-26.
That was our first guest that's taken the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. But that's the USA Today NFL insider, Tyler Dragon. Tyler, again, thank you so much for joining the Compas.
Thanks for having me on. I always enjoy coming up.